Hey guys, it's Ben again. Today I'll be talking about an idea I've gotten. This is partially a recording, so that way if someone else comes up with the same idea later on after me, I'm gonna be like, hey, you know what? This is my idea, because I like to share a lot. I like to share a lot of my ideas on physics and things. A lot. I share it with people that I know and walk down the street. So anyway, this is recording for just for essentially my sake. If someone wants to claim this theory, this idea, and I'd be like, yeah, that was actually mine. This YouTube video was up for a while now. Thanks. Um, but essentially, the idea that I've gotten is you have your first dimension, it's a point, okay? It's an idea, it's a spec, essentially. It's the creation of thought. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. But essentially, okay, imagine a point. Two dimension is a line, forwards and backwards. Along that line, infinitely in either direction. Hope you enjoy. Three dimension is now you take this line, you go up. Now you can move side to side, diagonal all the way around. Bam. That's your third dimension. Then we get into the fourth dimension. This one's the one that's weird. It's time. It is the procession by which those points go along. Now, time is different. Time is one way. It goes in one direction. It goes forward. You can't go back and change the past. You can't go back down the road when you've seen, for example, if you've seen a car crash where two people die, you can't go back and retrace that. Fix that. That's the difference between fourth dimension. It's been understood. You can't just go backwards in time. You can only go forwards. And you take the illusion of traveling forwards in time by using gravity and the speed of light and things, where your time perception changes, but overall time does not change. Universal time does not change. If something's occurred, you can't go back and change it, theoretically. Now, the idea I have is we live in a 3.5 system. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the decimal point is. I think it's actually different than 0.5, but I'll call it that for now till I actually get to have time to sit down and do mathematics. There's a lot of things I do all the time, so give me a little bit. I gotta sit down and do a lot of other stuff, a lot of important stuff, like getting a job for one, making money. Kind of need that to survive. You can be creative in all kinds of ideas. You can't turn those ideas straight into money because our society really doesn't support creative thinkers. Okay. But that aside, the idea is 3.5. I'll call it that for now. I think it's different, actually. It's a different system. It's probably higher than 0.5. But we live in that sort of system because we cannot move forward. We can only move forwards. We cannot move backwards. It would be like going on your first dimension. Okay, you got your point. And I can move in this direction, that way. Only in that direction. Only in that direction, but you can't move back. And once you've gone in that direction, you can't move backwards either. So that's essentially kind of the state we live in within our fourth dimension. Is we live in that state where we can't go back now. We got this set up. We're stuck on this system. Excuse me. We're stuck where we've done something. Okay, I pick up the chair, I move it. Yeah, I can move it back right now, physically, but I can't go backwards in time to move that chair back. I can't go back and say, this video sucks, after I've already posted it, and not make the video. The video will have still been made. I can delete it, but that's different. You can't just not make the video. Delete it, that's the difference. That's the difference within our system. Within our dimensional system. I think it's more of a 3.5 system instead of a 4 system. And I think if that's true, it turns a lot of things on its head. And it makes things a lot more complicated. Because when you actually start looking at it in where you actually could have a decimal system within your dimensions, you start wondering, okay, so what is 1.7589 10 11 10 11 yeah 1 0.5, yeah, whatever, as it goes down. And what would that mean for that dimension? Because if you have your whole numbers, things are understood pretty well, pretty easily. You can understand things and go, yes, that works. But when you don't have whole numbers, things get complicated very fast. In a regular mathematics system, things within the decimal system get complicated really fast. That's one of the ways that you make it really fast. When you divide something and it doesn't make it. And then you start getting into decimals and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. It makes mathematics a lot more complicated when you start getting to that, instead of all yours just being whole numbers. Makes things so, and that would essentially, you take all complications of now having repeating decimals going on till infinity. For example, pi, phi, and I can't think of any others right now. My brain's in a lot of different places, as it always is. So imagine taking those numbers and using them in math equations. Now apply that to dimensions and apply that to everything at the same time. It makes things really, really complicated, really, really fast. Because now, okay, how would a 3.7598678 whatever be different from a 3.5? How would a dimension of 6, the 6th dimension, to a decimal system be different from the 6th dimension? Where would these differences be? We can't hardly understand our own dimension. We can't hardly understand other dimensions. We have conceptual ideas in mathematics. We do not, however, understand exactly what living in that sort of dimension would be like. And the difference is we are basing our next dimensions that we've got and imagining them based off of our experience. But if we're living in a 3.5 system, living dimension 3.5 and not 4, then our understanding of these next dimensions can't be fully understood, because we're looking at it and we're going, okay, you live in the 5th dimension. Well, we'll imagine that's the 5th dimension would be like you're able to move backwards and forwards in time. No problem, right? You could change things that happen to you. But once you change it, you're kind of stuck. That would be a 5th dimension, sort of. It's more complicated than that. Actually, quite a bit more complicated, to be honest. It's a hard thing to imagine. But layman's terms, okay, we're basing this idea of 5th dimension off of, okay, we can go back and we can change things. Well, what if that's actually a 4th dimension, guys? That means every other dimension basis off of that, your calculation, no longer works. No longer makes sense. Turns a lot of physics ideas on its head. So it's an idea I've gotten. I don't know how well it's going to actually work out and whether or not I'm right. This is just something, it's an idea I have. And I'm not saying that this is the way it is. I'm saying it's a possibility. Possibility in a lot of other possible scenarios. And I want to do some research as soon as I actually have time. Time. What a complicated thing you are. Anyway, yeah, so as soon as I find the time to do it, I'll see if I can do a follow-up video and maybe have some actual proofs and some ideas, equations maybe wrote out. Anyway, peace, love, and happiness, guys.